2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Welcome to a very special Sunday edition of Crypto. This is AZcrypto and MrFOMO, and we are here. And market's doing a little bit better, but Luna recovery. We'll talk about Luna today since once we're on the official Luna channel, we're not running away with it. Still a long ways to go. We've got some proposals we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about BTC, obviously, and we have a VGX update, which actually is pretty important. Steve Ehrlich, the CEO, did a Twitter space and finally talked about, for sure, didn't give a date, but looks like we're finally going to get information about the VLP 2.0, which is, I think, very important for the future success of VGX and the Voyager platform. So some important topics today. We want to talk about Luna because obviously that kind of set the tone. And we tried to do shows twice earlier this week and just we had to not air it because of how things were going. And there is a recovery plan now. Well, there's been a couple of recovery plans put up, but nothing is official from the official Luna site. There's talk about holders getting repaid before the attack. There's talk about buying and burning, but there's a lot of questions. There are a lot of concerns that they can't afford to do what they need to do. Bottom line is a lot of damage has been done. And the longer you wait to fix the damage, I think the harder it is to recover, MrFOMO, because there was some buying action on. In fact, at one point it got to 3 billion market cap, which given where it was 72 hours ago is quite astonishing. Some people were trying to get optimistic, but the reality is when you have over 6 trillion tokens, and that was not the design of Luna, and it happened so quickly, it's just tough to recover.
Well, and now you have, and Do Kwon spoke to this a little bit in his response when they sort of had everything settled down. I mean, as settled down as it could be. And in his response, he said, whether you loved us before or you hate us now, we have that name recognition. And I thought that was kind of terrible. Like his proposal was that they're going to keep it going. They're going to just get rid of the project UST and try and keep the Luna ecosystem going, or at least create an ecosystem, a new ecosystem with a new coin. And I'm not crazy about his proposal. There was another proposal that was put up online where UST holders were, 99.6% of them were made whole. The lowest holders, which represent, they really ended up representing 99.6% of the holders, but it made up like 80% of the supply. And the idea is to give them back as much as they can and then try and work it out with the whales some other way with Luna or whatever project they create moving forward. But even that, there was no real mention of, a swap for Luna holders. There was no real mention, if they just scrap the project altogether, what Luna holders get in the long run.
And here's my problem right now is you have it on exchanges and you have people buying and it could be shut down at any moment. On Friday, and obviously the day before we had Binance, we had, I think what crypto.com did is criminal, trying to make people pay back their winnings. That is just awful. I would never ever use a service like that. You had people that made a great decision to go in when it was, hey, they kept it open when the market cap was below 10 million. That's on them. And if you have someone that got a 20-30x and they changed their life, to ask them for the money back, it goes against what crypto is supposed to be about. So shame on you, crypto.com. I will never use your service ever. ever, and I recommend no one that watches this show, and this will be the anti-crypto.com channel, because shame on you for doing that to people. You should be happy those people made that money. If you don't have the money to cover it, hey, change your tokenomics on your CRO. Maybe don't buy the Staples Center naming rights next time. It's no longer called the Staples Center, but maybe find someone below Matt Damon to do your commercials. But
and
I
nobody
just have a horrible. I'm sorry, but that is
nobody
awful.
likes that design for the roof of the Staples Center anyway. There was some and I'll be as mild as I can. There were some pretty profane analogies for what the new Staples Center rooftop looks like now that it's crypto.com, but it was pretty hilarious. I recommend you look at it.
The funniest thing was everyone that ever signed up, because I've never used it, but I do have a crypto.com account. I got the email saying, and they made it sound like they had to apologize. They just blanket, you must return all your funds immediately. It's like, I've never traded on your exchange, nor would I. And I mean, I hope they have a gigantic lawsuit against them, because
it's just
that's
another
not right.
argument. That is an example of why centralization sometimes doesn't work, because when you're working with a centralized company like that, they can make their own rules, and you just victim to the.
Well, but to play devil's advocate, that's where the government. That's decentralization, though. Say there is no commissioner. So when someone plays bad, and let's be honest here, Luna made a gigantic mistake. They screwed a lot of people by inflating this token. Didn't need to happen. By Tuesday, UST was dead, and I know the validators have to make money, but Sunday night, instead of selling your Bitcoin, yeah, sell your Bitcoin, but stop the chain and have an emergency meeting and decide what you're going to do. Whoever decided to print all that Luna, they probably, maybe they're right now, I'd say there's a 2 to 5% chance of saving this, but they pretty much almost killed. I mean, it was on life support when the exchanges started dropping it. Honestly, we both thought it was over, because you had made a buy right before. I had bought that day too. It was under the premise.
It looks like a giant pile of that. That's what it looks like.
Well, we were under the premise, we did not know that the inflation, they went above their max supply.
Yeah,
okay?
right.
So that's decentralization right there. You can just make up the rules. There is no commissioner in crypto that says, no, you guys can't do that. Bring your supply down.
It shows you that these projects don't have to follow even their own rules when they have that centralized group of people working.
But is that decentralization then? So the decentralization, you can still make things up as you go. So it's
right, but it comes down to
decentralization is about, if it's really about, well, it's decentralized, so this formula can't be broken. Well, they broke their own formula. So
well, here's the problem as I see it. When you have decentralization, you can't just ask the people who make money from the network if you should keep the network going. You see what I'm saying? The validators make money because the network keeps rolling.
Well, they should have had there was no emergency plan.
They're not validating. They're not making money. So they said, yeah, keep it rolling. We'll just mint a ton of Luna and keep the chain rolling so we can all keep making money. Yeah, sure, I'll vote for that if I'm a validator. Sure, it makes sense. But the problem is you didn't ask any of the Luna holders, hey, is it okay if we go ahead and take you from a $1 billion max or a 1 billion max supply to 6 trillion in, say, a couple of days? Nobody ever asked anyone who had.
Nor did they tell people it was coming.
Right. And so that's why it's not truly decentralized, is because it was up to this small group of validators who don't have skin in the investment game necessarily. They have skin in the network continuing to run as long as it can. Even if it only ran for 5 more days, at least they can make their money for 5 more days is what they were looking at. And that's a flawed decentralization model. You know what I mean?
I think unfortunately you can't have algorithmic stable coins that can be manipulated.
Right. That's
never really be stable.
Word now.
They can't be really stable coins. But the fact that there was no emergency plan, that okay, this happens, this gets triggered, hopefully that's a lesson for other projects. Is hey, we get attacked, and most projects luckily don't have this. I think honestly,
Said it before. We said it on the last show. This shows the arrogance of this team. They may be some of the smartest people, maybe even on the planet, but certainly in crypto, they proved that for a time there that they were some of the smartest people in crypto. But it shows
a lot of people can be smart when things are going well. Let me say something.
That if you think that you can never go wrong, it's sort of like that Titanic model. Like, this is the unsinkable ship. Well, guess what? There's the iceberg that sunk it. And
let's see how smart they are right now, because the project is on life support, and the longer they wait to vote and implement the plan, the likelier case it is that this thing is going to get destroyed. And what really sucks is the people that are on exchanges, you like to buy to lower your average, but that money could be just in a toilet, because once it gets delisted, you pretty much can't, unless your exchange is offering transfers, you pretty much are screwed. And honestly, even if you did transfer it, I don't know what it would be worth, because they could shut it down. Who knows what the swap feature would be? And even the founder of Binance, who I'm not saying this guy's a hero, but he was telling him the fork's not the issue. He really thinks the fair thing to do is for them to buy back the supply and burn back to $1 billion. Can they afford it? That's the $1 billion question. If they can't, I hate to say it, but I think it's over. This project's not going to.
He also was on Twitter today saying that he wanted to see more transparency from the Terra Luna team. It seems to me like he is willing to invest more into Terra Luna in order to help keep that project afloat, but he'd like to see them make some changes.
At 6 trillion, it's not going to work, because here's the problem: you had a market cap over 3 billion a day ago, and they were nowhere near a cent. That's a big problem. That's a gigantic problem. And it went down today. It takes so much money just for people to get back. And yeah, someone could quick flip it, but that's not what Terra Luna was supposed to be. For them to even have a slight, there's gonna have to be an aggressive burn. However they do it, there's just gonna have to be an aggressive burn, and I don't know if they have the capital. And people are wondering where are their reserves? Where's that at? It just made a monumental mistake. I mean, two things. One, people were warning you that you could be attacked, and you said it was never going to happen. But even when you want to talk like that, talk tough, you should have a background plan in the back, just in case. Here's guys, if this happens and it gets depegged, and all of a sudden Tierra, whatever UST, I hate even to use the name now, is above $1. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to do this, but you didn't have a plan, and you destroyed your token, and you got it taken off exchanges. And I honestly, they're lucky to have it back on. I did not think it would go back on the next day, but I don't love the fact right now that pretty much all the exchanges have said, hey guys, you buy at your own risk. After your buy, it could get taken delisted, and we'll just sell it for you.
Yeah, and it's also dishonest. There were a couple of exchanges, and I won't name any more names with that, but there were a couple of exchanges that were allowing people to buy, but if they went to turn around to sell, they couldn't. And that was right before they shut everything down. And so it was dishonest the way that they went about handling this entire Terra Luna, the exchanges, I mean. And I think it's across the board, really. I think all the exchanges in some way, shape, or form have handled this very poorly, whether it's, failing to properly calculate the average cost of your Luna, or how much you have or how much you put in or whatever, to crypto.com, like you said, just basically telling their customers what they had to do with their money. So I don't think that any exchange handled this very well. But again, it just all comes down to, like you said, there's no commissioner in crypto, and it really is, if not your keys, not your crypto. And if you have your crypto on,
well, you have your keys, but if Luna goes to zero,
Well, this is what I'm saying is that if you can have all the decentralized currencies you want, but if your decentralized currencies are on an exchange, you're at the mercy of that exchange.
Well, but you're
Those
also at the next stage. You're
exchanges,
also
it's
at the
Wild
mercy of
West.
the. You're also at the mercy of the leadership of the token, and they
No,
might
yeah,
say they want. They might say.
that goes without saying. I'm just saying that the way that these crypto exchanges have handled it, you're not really decentralized if these people can go ahead and tell you, yeah, we're going to make you sell your Luna, or we're going to sell it for you.
No, it's
Then you
not
just have to take
decentralized,
whatever cash you get. And
but it,
so,
but if it was
and I
true
think another,
decentralization, if
and
there was,
another problem here, and this is a double-edged sword, decentralization, because, like we've talked about before, not having that red button, having to wait on your validators to vote on something when you have a very time sensitive situation that is happening right now, that's a problem. You need to have a fail safe in a situation like that where you can shut down the network without anyone's permission. And so that's an argument, I guess, against decentralization.
well, it's weird because he sold the Bitcoin without votes because he said he didn't have time. I just think they made the wrong choices. But here's the problem: decentralization, that UST should have been worth $1, and it's not. So when it goes wrong, there's no one to talk to, right? That's my point, and that's why Cardano will never run a government, because it's just not practical that you're gonna have validators making
Smart
decisions,
contracts.
on nuclear weapons or invasions. It's never gonna happen. Okay, come on. Let's
let's be realistic about the limitations of
I'm all for people having their own banks. In fact, I think that's the future, hopefully in the next generation.
And I think things like your vote can be tokenized to make it more safe. But I don't think that you'll have a truly decentralized government, though.
That runs on a smart contract. I don't.
Because the red line for the country changes so often, like you said, with nuclear weapons. Like, what was the red line for us in the 40s is probably not the, or 50s is not the red line for us, these days. And there's a lot
let's
of
talk to our. I would recommend right now, until Pierre Luna has a plan, not to buy. Unfortunately.
Oh no, I wouldn't dabble in that right now. I would wait until they have a solid plan in place that they voted on.
And the plan needs to make sense. And we will talk about the plan. It's either, I think we're gonna know right away, is yes, this is a good plan, or it's over.
Here's what I think. What I think will happen is some mixture of the two. What I think will happen is UST is dead.
They've announced that. But if there's not an aggressive burn,
but I think that the UST holders will get some of their money back. I think that because they should have been able to count on the idea that was worth $1.
Well, yeah, when you buy a stable coin,
have to offer them some sort of,
and this was being offered on Coinbase too. So Coinbase is in some hot trouble because U.S. citizens bought a stable coin on their net. If Coinbase does not reimburse the people of the stable coin, there's definitely going to be some lawsuits.
So, but then I think with Luna, I think, at least this is my hope. I hope that they keep the token around. I think you're right. They're going to have to burn aggressively. And I think that is where Do Kwon's plan of transaction fees and burning a certain amount of the transaction fees and using that to reward validators and that kind of stuff. I think that's the only way to go. And
it better be aggressive burn. It can't be a 5-6 year plan.
I mean, they with what they think they can burn, they think that they can get back to a max supply in the billions fairly quickly, which would be incredible if you held Luna.
It has to be done. It's just
there's also the idea floating out there that they would completely scrap that project and then offer you some sort of swap, even if they even offered you some sort of swap if you were Luna.
Well, anything is better than nothing.
Right.
The danger right now is if you're holding on any of the exchanges is they delist, they sell it for you within 24 hours if you don't sell. You take the tax hit, but then you can't even swap. and some of them right now are not offering transfers to Luna. So it's I don't know if you can really blame them, to be honest, because they don't trust the network. The network failed, and they don't.
They trusted the network when the network got the price down to a fraction of a penny to keep selling that, and not offer to buy anyone that went to sell.
They did, but the problem is, Mr. FOMO, they weren't honest with anyone, including the exchanges, about how much they were printing. So it caught everyone off guard. Okay, no one expected all those zeros to pop up. Not the buyers, not the holders, not the exchanges. It was awful. It was awful communication. It reeked of desperation. And honestly, they better make it right starting this week. The longer this goes without a plan, it's sayonara. It's over. And I honestly can see, if there's not a good plan in place in a week, I think the plug gets pulled on the exchanges. I think they say.
I think you really. I mean, unless they really get their act in gear, and from what it seems like, it looks like the team is really working hard to do something. But if they don't get their act in gear, they're going to go down with names like BitConnect and Quadriga CX and all these horrible, crypto scams that have taken advantage of people. And that's not what it was. And that'll be the horrible end of that, is that this great project ends up looking like these horrible Ponzi's that have come before. And
well, they
really was.
Listen, I think he was a bit arrogant, and like I said, he in the time of crisis didn't show good leadership, and so we are where we are. It's just a horrible lesson. And to be honest, we had a chance to sell Sunday night, and but we got to look at ourselves in the mirror too. When we saw that Bitcoin was about to go on sale, and that the stable coin was going to have trouble staying at $1, and it's a bear market, how we didn't sell we gotta question ourselves. I mean, it was a looking back, it was a foolish thing not to sell Sunday. I mean, especially since we were both ahead.
And that's really what we've been kicking ourselves about all week, is not looking at that situation and going, wow, this is a huge red flag. We need to just back out and see where this goes.
Because you always could have bought back, right?
That speaks to inexperience. But if that was you, or if that was us, we're certainly not alone. I ran into somebody who told me that this cost them almost $90,000. So there are people out there who really fell hard on this one, and people who did massive amounts of research. I mean, tons and tons of research, and just like us, were very confident in what they were seeing. And all I think that really, I hope all that comes out of this is that algorithmic stablecoin becomes a bad word.
And other companies have emergency plans in case they're attacked. We can shut down the network. Here's what we do. Yeah, I agree. If there was no stable coin, the problem is the tokenomics were tied to the stable coin, the printing, the decision to keep printing was an F minus minus minus. There's just no way around it. You didn't save the stable coin anyway. You should have just let that go to hell, figured out a way to recoup those guys, kept your token. And yes, there still would have been a sell-off.
It's easy in hindsight to kind of tell them what they should have done, but I'm sure in the moment it was more chaotic in those offices and houses than it ever was for any.
Let's move on and talk about something a little more
let's
positive.
have something positive.
Steve Ehrlich came on Twitter on Saturday, had a Twitter space. I was able to listen to some of it, and we finally have some information about, nothing yet about, some people are getting debit cards, we are not, so that's still in the air, but I was hoping by this summer, but
I'm going to start a Twitter or a series of tweets every day. I'm going to just keep tweeting him and Invest Voyage.
Well, listen, I understand they're in alpha.
190, and I don't have my debit card yet.
I understand they're in alpha, but maybe give an alpha timeline. Tweet it out. Don't just say it on a random podcast or random YouTube video. Give us a little more. And he did come out with an email. It was an okay email, but I want a little more. You know what I mean? Because we were told this couldn't come out in Christmas because they were afraid to give it out during the holidays. Now we're in beta for several months. It's almost June. This thing was supposed to be out at the beginning of the year. Come on, guys, let's go. Because especially because here's the frustration is right now you could be getting your percentage back on a token that's below $1. By the time they get it to us, I have a feeling it'll be after VLP. It'll be I do want the token to be over $2, but not being able to take advantage of the cash back when it's below $1 is frustrating.
Yeah, the number of tokens you could be accumulating at this price with your cash back, I mean, it's going to pale in comparison, or what you can get later is going to pale in comparison to what you could have earned now. I mean, you could move up levels at this point with cash back. Realistically, when we get to $2, $3, $4, that realism is going to die. And so
right now the market cap is only at 249 million, which is really great. You still have the lawsuits out there. I'm not too worried about those because I really don't think they did anything wrong at all. These are just the banks that are desperate. So, and those will take time to get through. But that to me is just it's not going to hurt. It's FUD, but it's not going to hurt the token. I think I'm very interested to see what this VLP 2.0 looks like, how it's connected to everything that's coming.
I will be very interested to see how that
they
works
have to hit home run.
And to me, I honestly, I'm kind of frustrated with them, not just because of the debit card, because that really, I mean, as someone who is a blue collar person, someone who earns a median salary in Florida, that's important for me to be able to use my purchases as a way to accumulate rather than having a DCA any other way. And so I'm really frustrated, like you said. But then on top of that, you mentioned that email that came out, and we talked about this pre-show, but I'm really frustrated with how it was worded about Luna and how, you invest at your own risk. Is sort of like tongue in cheek saying, well, it's all your fault, which I know, yeah, it's my fault. But that was your coin of the month, 1 month. That you guys offer APR on it.
Not anymore.
But that's what I mean is it was something that they were showing that they believed in wholeheartedly. It wasn't it wasn't just like we tacitly believe in this because we listed it. That's one thing. But to then have it your coin of the month, to hype it up as much as they did, and then to turn around in that email, I just felt that was kind of disingenuous on his part to say, well, that's what happens. You shouldn't be surprised by that. It's like, well, at least offer some apology to us for saying, hey, like we offered an apology on this show, and we don't get paid for this show. But he can't offer an apology.
You guys can change that by subscribing and hitting that like button.
But that's what I mean. Is just be accountable, and that really, we both kind of said that rubbed me the wrong way. I really have to say that.
Well, let's hope. You sadly, should we say this? You used some of your VGX to buy Luna. Yeah. So didn't you? So.
Yeah, last minute I pulled some out of VGX to purchase some Luna, and that was a mistake. Unless it comes back, and then it wasn't.
Hey, there's still a shot. Let's see what happens this week. I'm not that optimistic right now, but you never know. BTC made it back to 31. A small step in the right direction because it keeps the alt from being decimated. Honestly, for me right now, it says how low are some of these going to get? Like you had STMX getting in the 80 million market cap range. And it's like, how low can these things get if this continues? It's great buying opportunity for people that have like liquid. So I would really recommend, again, if you're going into these projects, we talked about some, for example, we talked about Avalanche, we talked about Audius. Remember to layer in because we do not know if this is the bottom. People that are telling you we hit the bottom, they don't know that. Okay.
Here's the thing with
it's very disingenuous.
Here's the thing.
We're honest with it. We're going to tell you we don't know.
I like STMX because unlike Voyager, I still haven't gotten my STMX debit card, but STMX still allows me to make purchases using my STMX codes and earn cash back, and I can withdraw in several different cryptocurrencies from STMX. So, you know, even though their market cap is real low, I'm still liking the way STMX is handling.
I think, listen, I think this thing it had an amazing run all the way up to 10 cents, the last bull. And if it keeps going down, I'll tell you what, and if it gets anywhere below 50 million market cap, could be a great coin to layer into as well.
And you can stake it on their app, earn the 7.5% while the coin is down. And then on top of that, anytime you make a purchase right now, I'm going to go buy some New Balance shoes and I'm going to get 4% cash back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then if I decide to withdraw some of that, I can actually, I'm not going to get 4%. I'm going to get 6% because I get a 1.5 multiplier. But if I decide to withdraw some of it, I can do it in Bitcoin if it gets back down into the 20s, or if it's staying in the 30s for a while. I can withdraw it in Ethereum. I can withdraw it in a ton of different.
Right. I think we want to tell our audience this. It sounds like the opposite, but this is really the time to be in crypto, watching our channel, because again, the projects you like that we like, eGold, Avalanche, Audius, even one we haven't talked about in a while, Engine. This is the time to layer in. Hell, if you have not bought VGX, even if this thing fails, the idea it's not going to get back to $2 is preposterous. Like, you have a easy 2x at some point in your future, and you can't say that about every single coin out there. Listen, if you are patient, you will make money in this market. It's going to take, I think, unfortunately, it's going to take till 2024. We might have a run in 2023, maybe later this year. I'm not counting on it, but the reality is the opportunity is there if you have the patience and you have the persistence to kind of wait this out. Because like I said, you leave the space and come back in 2 years. We kind of came in the middle of a bull run, and we didn't really understand how far we were behind everyone else that was there previously. We didn't have the knowledge, and we were making mistakes we'd have not made. We talked about this off the air of not taking profits aggressively from the beginning. Had we been doing that, we'd be in a completely different space. Hopefully our wives are not watching the show, but
I know that.
but we would be in a, you know, we're doing okay. We're not, you know, we're not homeless, but we would we'd be more in the green. Let's put it that way, at least.
Right. It's a humbling experience, but that's why we're here, because we've made those mistakes. We want to keep you from making those mistakes, and we want to help you put money in your own pocket.
Yeah, and I think the projects we've identified, I love the direction, and Avalanche is going. I love the direction. You like All Go a lot. I like it, not quite as much as you, but that could change. You know, there's a lot of time now between now and 2024. We haven't talked about Solana a lot. A lot of people are high on that, and that's retraced quite significantly. So there's a lot, and there could be a new project that gets launched between now and 2024 that starts out with a low market cap that you want to get a hold of. You want to get a hold on, because some of these projects are dying. We're talking about the ones outside the top 200. They're not coming back because there's no money. There's no money left. The money's
gone. So you're going to see the dilution of all these terrible projects, and that money's going to flow into these good projects during this bear market. Hopefully. You're going to see those projects strengthen. I believe in this idea. I mean, we talked about Polkadot the other day at $8. It's already at 11, maybe even higher. I looked at that earlier.
Yeah. I just want to mention we're going to have a show coming up this week about how to still make money in the short term, and because we talked about long term. We've got some strategies that we've discussed that we're going to lay out for you that I think are very good and extremely safe. Because even if you buy at the wrong time, because of what you're buying, you're going to be able to recover very quickly. So we're going to talk about that. I think early this week is how do you still want to make money in the short term? How do you do it? We're gonna give you a strategy that you can use. Obviously, if you just want to layer in and hold the next couple of years, that'd be the most. But let's say you also want to try to make a little bit of money now. I'm going to tell you how we think it can be done. And I think we've talked about it's a good plan, but you're going to have to wait till the next episode to hear it. We're not going to give it away today. But for Mr. FOMO, this is AZcrypto. have a great evening, everybody.
See ya.